It's October 22nd, 27th. Wow, 2023. I am at Joel Pearl, and it's time to get in the weeds. And my God, we are crashing into the weekend. Let me tell you, we are all just on the ride. So with that in mind, Jeremy Lambert's here. Hi, Jeremy. How are you? You look good. Your hair is immaculate.
Shout out to my stylist then, in that case. Hi, Joel. I'm good. It's Friday. We're here to get down on Friday. Shout out to the GOAT, Rebecca Black.
Hell yeah, the best. I'm very confused right now. I'm reading that Impact just officially announced, even though this has been out for a while, that their final resolution show that's happening in Toronto, in Mississauga to be exact, is December 9th, and tickets go on sale Friday, November 3rd. And then on socials, it says December 12th, Saturday.
Dates are just a figment of our imagination, Joel.
So the 9th is the actual date. The 12th is a Tuesday. So somebody just messed up on the graphic, I guess. Can't blame Garrett.
Yeah.
He does the copy. I don't think he does the graphics. Anyway,
Yeah.
I was just reading that this morning. I just noticed it right now. Anyway,
they just deleted it, so I'm sure they're fixing it.
Oh, did they? Okay, well,
Yeah.
that's wonderful. I'm glad. Oh, yeah, there it is. It's gone. Anyway, glad to point that out on the air. So clearly we're off to a wonderful, rousing start. It's Friday. There's plenty to talk about. I know we're going to fill our time. And yeah, here we go. What do I usually say? We do this. The thumbs up thing is good. Do that. Go ahead and subscribe to us here at Fightful Overbooked. We're doing well with the subs, but we could do better. So go tell your friends about the show, would you? Okay. And of course, if you want to donate a super chat, you can. Any amount of question or statement around the air. And of course, we talk about it a little bit. As long as you know, don't say anything super shitty. Okay. Those people, we don't need that.
Did you just curse?
The S word will be fine.
Are you sure? I thought that word got us in trouble.
We get golden $ just at random at this point.
Trent can't say that word, so I don't think we can say it.
Well, he's not on broadcast television saying it.
Or is it Chucky? Who wants to say the S word? I forget.
I think it's Trent.
Okay.
I think. I'm not sure. I just say things. That's kind of what I'm here for. This is the 2 hour. Listen, okay. Let's just okay.
Are you okay, Joel?
No, I'm not. I was gonna say I'm all over the place this morning. Let me tell y'all a little bit about my morning. This is a morning show, so clearly this is just what happens. Woke up this morning. My kid was making a little noise, being a little whiny, and it was about 7 o'clock. It's usually when I'm up, and he's good with sleep. He is. He usually sleeps well and through the night and so on and so forth. And it's rare when I wake up and he's up and whiny like that. So I get up, I get his breakfast ready, get things going, and I grab him, and I noticed that his bed was a little bit of a mess. He didn't poop; it was the other side. So grab him, do the thing, and get him out. Long story short, he ended up throwing up on me this morning, and that's the first time it's happened in 19 months that I've had him. So that was unexpected. So my day has been thrown off entirely.
Justified, you deserve it, chant.
For what?
I don't know.
Because
that's why.
Wow, that's kind of upsetting.
I said it was justified, Joel.
So did Tony, but he was wrong. Anyway, let's keep going. He's for those asking, he's feeling okay. He's a little lethargic, he's a little wobbly, but he'll be okay.
I hope he feels better. I hope he keeps throwing up on you, though. It's kind of funny.
It's not. I jumped in the shower real quick. My wife took him for a minute. It was very helpful. But anyway, got a couple super chats right off the bat. Chattown Spurs says, I need a new black suit for all these AEW funerals. Just ask Alex Shelley. He only has one suit, and it's black. It's okay. He'll lend it to you if you fit into it. And music and moonsaults. Let's get this really started. Sting is dumb. How many times has Ric Flair double-crossed the man? I'm sure this time things will be different. Well, do you want to start with Dynamite? Might as well.
It goes boom.
It does go boom. And clearly it's gone boom because, Jeremy, the ratings discourse again. Anyway, I don't want to talk about the ratings. Ric Flair was a special guest. It's the special gift. It wasn't health insurance. It wasn't a union. It's your hand up. What's up?
All right. I'm going to, in the sake of transparency for our audience, I don't know how many people worry about me. I don't know. Look, I'm out of it today. everybody. I want to be fair to our audience who might, I don't know what kind of expectations people have for me or anything. If they watch this and they see that I'm kind of all over the place and glassy eyed and I can't tell what the hell's going on, as I told everybody a few weeks ago, I started medicine, or I was going to start medicine. I started it last night. It's completely disoriented me. I probably don't look great. Again, I feel I'm very all over the place. I feel I'm very down and just zombified. Started medicine last night. It's kind of messed me up. That's all this is. I'm not on anything else. Show will be fine. I just feel like I'm not myself right now, and I want to be fair to our audience to let everybody know that in case anybody for some reason was potentially worried. Continue with Ric Flair, because that's how I look right now, like an old man trying to figure out where the hell he is.
How's your liver? Is it black? I hope it's better than black.
No, I think it's better than that.
That's fair. A couple of Ryan Sullivan saying, "Hey, you're handsome as ever, Jeremy." That's true. And why Soulable, of course. Just happy to have you here with us.
I'm gonna eat this. I apologize. I'm gonna have the sucker on air, everybody, John Moxley style. My sugar feels very low after this medicine and stuff too, so I need some sugar. We had trick or treating last night. I got some candy.
Trick or treat. It's the 27th. What are you trick or treating for,
bro? Don't ask me. They apparently this place, they're like, yeah, Thursday, this is what we're doing trick or treating on. It's like, all right, sure. It doesn't make any sense. I can't tell you why they do it, but yeah, that's the Thursday. I think it's like the last Thursday of October. It's like, yeah, this is trick or treating day. Don't get it, don't know, don't care. But trick or treating was last night, so we got candy.
Chris in the chat is saying trick or treating is a whole week thing now. I don't get it. We're going like tomorrow and the next day. There's like Halloween parties because it's the weekend, and like we're gonna go because it's kids stuff to do. And like, yeah, we'll probably find something in our building on this Tuesday on the actual Halloween. And daycare was like, dress them up if you want, but like, yeah, we haven't done a full week of trick. That's wild.
A week? Yeah, that's insane.
I could never.
All that.
Yeah, that's
how much candy these people have. They got candy pass out a week. I wouldn't be getting y'all nothing.
Yeah, well, speaking of nothing, Ric Flair showed up on Dynamite.
This gift sucked. Yeah. I'd be so mad if they gave me Ric Flair trick or treat. And here's Ric Flair. Like,
do you have the gift receipts?
Where's that's a trick, not a treat. Like, can I just get my full size candy bar, dude? I don't want this old man. What's happening here?
There's okay. I've thought about this and I've been going back and forth, and the immediate thing that I was thinking was like, Tony Khan is going to, and this is where please don't get weird, chat. You'll bar Hulk Hogan for being a racist from being on your shows, and you'll bar him from every venue you go to. But Ric Flair, a week or two after you made jokes about sexual assault allegations and Vince McMahon and all that, you like, come and join us till March, brother. That was weird to me. And it's not a direct, the only reason there's a direct comparison is because Hogan and Flair are of the same time frame and same vintage. What they did and what they are currently known for are different situations, neither of which are good and neither of which should be celebrated. It's just a direct frustration from me. And you can tell me a million times, oh, well, Flair put Sting over in 1990 at the Bash. That's great. Wonderful. 30 years ago, 35 years ago, Tony was talking about it. It was a big deal. Great. Wonderful. Why? Why is Ric Flair here to ride the coattails of Sting one last time? This old man is doing great, just getting high with Mike Tyson and talking about shit on a podcast. Nobody believes you then. Why are you bringing it to television? It's just, I'm starting with it now because I actually have positive things to say about Dynamite. I typically do find a few things that are good, but this was
Joel hates AEW.
We'll talk about that. And it just doesn't make sense. There's just this weird, like, what are we doing here? It's very strange. I don't like it.
This man came out. So, they hyped up the gift and everything. I'll tell the story right quick. You had that health insurance tweet. It's health insurance. That I think Sean retweeted it, and that's why it got over more. It was a good tweet though.
Thank you. He retweeted it and then he talked about it on the air, and that was
Okay.
Well, it's game over. Mute this now.
Yeah, so it was a it was a good tweet. And my buddy Sammer, who I've mentioned on the air before, it's like my best friend who I've never met. He messages it to me and he goes, "Oh, this is a good tweet." And I'm like, "That's a guy I do a podcast with 3 times a week." And he's just like, "Oh, well, Sammer doesn't watch my shows." So I don't blame him. I don't
Nope,
blame him.
he does.
That or the better bits of that is you're not memorable enough to that he's like, "Oh yeah, this is the guy you do the podcast with, right?" He just knows I do a bunch of podcasts. He didn't know who my co-hosts are. But it popped up. So I thought that was funny that he saw it and didn't realize it was you who I do the podcast with. Ric Flair's music hits, and the wife and I are sitting watching. I was like, "Oh, they got Ric Flair," and she's like, "Huh? What? Why?" So I don't know. Just look, he's on the TV screen. He's like, "Yeah, sure." This I don't mind it as the gift, like as a one night thing. Is it a little hypocritical after all the stuff you said about Vince and Hulk Hogan's banned and all this stuff? Yeah. Like Flair's kind of the same thing. It He didn't get charged with anything. He whatever settled how he settled, whatever happened there. It's the same thing, right? Like ain't too much difference here. It's all public eye stuff. If you want that to be the gift, it clearly meant a lot to Sting. Bless Sting and his naive little heart. It clearly meant a lot to him. So as a one night thing, like, wasn't for me, but like I kind of get it. If Flair going to business for himself and is like, I'm gonna be here every week, like
So I mean, Wrestling Observer said that he's there till March, which is like, if that's the case, and that's newsletter. I don't think that was radio. I think that was Dave on the newsletter saying that. If that's the case, holy shit. And if it's every week, holy shit.
they don't. So this is what I said yesterday on Spotlight. I'm done with Adam Edge for weekly television right now. Thankfully, he's been awful, but I don't need to see Ric Flair every week. I don't know what he adds to the presentation of Sting and Darby outside of old man just walking around, and he's gonna flare it up. And I don't want to see any of that. He's gonna be ringside for these men, woo, strutting all this nonsense. He's gonna try to chop somebody. He's probably gonna try to wrestle and everything. I don't want to see any of it. I don't. And I know he's gonna do. Ace Shock points out that he did 1.2 million on YouTube. He's gonna do YouTube numbers. Adam Edge does YouTube numbers. All these guys do YouTube numbers because that's the WWE generation. I don't know if that's true or not, but like these guys, they're over on YouTube, sure, but like it's not good television. It's not. I don't want to see it on my television screen. I don't want to see Ric Flair for 3 months, 4 months, however friggin' months are left. I don't want to see any of it. I don't think Ric Flair and that's my biggest thing. It's not even that like Flair is all the stuff that goes with him, which none of it's good. It's that he doesn't add to the product. He doesn't add anything. He might end up turning on Sting. I'm now afraid that Sting's last match is Sting and Darby against Flair and Andrade. I'm afraid that that's the last match now.
Is Flair still doing a show? No, he's not doing it with Connie, is he? Is Flair still doing
I don't know. It stops and starts like every month at this point.
Yeah. It's on play.it and then it's not. that's going way back. But yeah, that oh god, I see in the chat Ryan's being like, he makes Sting look young. Sting wears face paint, so Sting's all right. Sting can wear face paint for the rest of his life and he'll always look young. Ric Flair just, oh buddy, it doesn't make sense to keep him around. And if this is what we're doing, and I told you, like, when we started talking about the gift and when we started talking about the announcement about Sting's retirement, we said this feels like they're going to do a long-term story that builds to March for Revolution 2024, and it makes a big story finish for Sting. That's fine. And then they brought Ric Flair, and I told you on weeks before the week before when they announced there was going to be a gift. I was like, the gift is probably going to play into Revolution 2024, and unfortunately, that gift sauntered his drunk ass way down the aisle. He wasn't drunk. It's Flair.
I don't thought those allegations.
Yeah. We'll keep that out there. He was fine. He didn't look that way. He just sauntered his ass down the aisle, said what he said, and whatever. The promo was coherent and it was fine for Flair. And he then basically said, I'm here till March. I'm going to be on the ride with you. And I sat there and I'm like, oh, I didn't mean it like this. And unfortunately, that's what we're getting. It sounds like whether it's weekly or whether it's just for the storyline beats with Sting, we're stuck. And if it does become the Sting and Darby versus Flair and Andrade, you got to tell me a story that's not, this is my son-in-law.
Sting turns on friggin', or not Sting. Flair turns on Sting because that's in the story for 3 decades now. Is Flair turns on Sting, like, and then he just gets Andrade because why the hell not?
Why? You know what? Let's Sting get the upper hand this time. Let's
Sting. In this case, I think Sting wins his last match. Then he pins Flair if that's going to be the last match, and Sting is going to win the last match.
God help us all. So does that mean? Do you think that they're going to do the pay-per-view in like Greensville or something and do a real like throwback TBS match thing?
Yeah, Greensboro. Let's go to North Carolina. I don't know. I don't know if this is the direction. I'm afraid that this is the direction now. I don't like it. And here's, I guess it pops the nostalgia fans or whatever. This just kind of feels like, and I've talked about this before, it feels like this is against what AEW was originally about. And I know they've used legends before. Don't, like, Arn Anderson was there at the very start. Arn Anderson was, aligned with Cody with everything, right? Jake Roberts was there, aligned with Lance Archer. Sting coming in, all this stuff is great. Whatnot. There's Arn has had, Arn hasn't really had any like major issues, I don't think. Jake has had just like abuse stuff, that substance abuse.
Arn just blocked Malachi Black.
Yeah.
Kick.
Yeah. DDP. Yeah, like it's not that they haven't used legends and stuff before, but they haven't used someone that the fan base, the AEW fan base, I should say, has been turned off by. I don't know if like AEW fans, and largely what I mean by that is a very strong online fan base. When Arn comes out, the fans are like, oh, Arn, this is great. We love him. He's with Cody. DDP. Oh, this is cool. Like Cody's really what you need to tie this all together. Jake, it's like, oh, this is cool. He got over all of his stuff and kind of has redeemed himself and stuff. Sting, everyone was a big fan to see Sting. Anytime they've used some of these legends, it's generally been well received from the hard online fan base. Flair, I didn't see any of that. Everyone who was, Tully's another one. Everyone who typically enjoys AEW were totally against Flair. Everyone who I follow, and I know I don't follow everybody. I try not to look at too much stuff, but for the people that I'm familiar with, and for a large kind of vocal minority, I will say that, like, all turned off by Flair. Now, but does he draw in kind of casual people? I don't know if like the quarters are out yet. I don't know if Thurston has those. I said, like, I hope they brought out Flair and everything just fell off a cliff, because that'd be hilarious to me. Absolutely hilarious. But I don't know if this is what the hardcore fans like really want to see. I don't know if they want Ric Flair. I don't know if they want him every single week. I think Flair has done so much damage to the eyes of the hardcore fans that this ain't gonna hit with them. And again, from what I saw, Chi-Town Spurs says it was Dark Order and RVD where the ratings tumbled. I mean,
whoops.
I love Van Dam. Like he still got it. But that was, let's be honest, that was a cold match against a cold team in Dark Order. And Hook, they ain't doing really anything with, outside of here's Rob Van Dam in Philly, or here's just random match with Art. There's no real story with Hook and RVD. It's just, hey man, you're Taz's son. Here's someone Taz was with in ECW. You're a team now. It's like, all right, cool, but that's kind of it with it. The live crowd loved. Yeah, I'm sure the live crowd did love Van Dam. Are you talking about Flair? Did the live crowd love Flair, Ryan Sullivan? I assume they probably did. I saw all the people like bowing and stuff. Like he's he's gonna get the pop. Vince McMahon gets the pop, right? Like you hear no chance. It's like, yeah, who cares about all this other stuff? It's Vince, no chance.
From
Flair's
what
gonna get that pop. Go ahead.
from what I was told and from what I heard from others, it was one of those like immediate like, oh my god, he's here, and then people were just like, oh wait, oh that's right, and then it was kind of like, all right, we're not as happy anymore.
Yeah, he's gonna get that pop every week when the music hits and he kind of comes out. It's like, oh, it's Ric Flair. Like people are excited initially, and then once maybe the things calm a little bit, they're like, oh, okay, I don't know about this. Yeah, it's not the cool young promotion now. Like Chris kind of says it, like AEW stopped being the young cool promotion, now just brings in every available WWE retread. It's like they're not totally there, but they're getting there a little bit. Like Flair's a jump the shark moment for me. Like I don't need it. Impact TNA was doing this stuff 2 decades ago, maybe a decade. Like a decade ago, they're bringing in Flair, and now you're doing it. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
That's what's funny to me is the TNA allegations are gonna come faster than you think, and they already have. But like if you keep doing stuff like if you bring in Edge, which you did, you bring in Flair, which you did, you brought in Bischoff for a cup of coffee, you did a bunch of retreads.
Some of this is like okay though. Like
some of it was okay. Again, all the names that you mentioned leading up to your point, 100%. When AEW started and they started bringing in these legends and they paired them with their talent and they got the talent over by using the legends, that stuff was fantastic. I can say no bad thing about that, about watching that week to week. Again, Jake Roberts with Lance Archer did huge things for Lance Archer on AEW television. Sting and Darby did massive business, not just for the company, but for Darby Allin as well. There has been a lot of really positive things that come from bringing these legends in. Flair is not the first, but certainly the first big name where you're just like, the hell are we doing here? What's the point? Who are you putting over? If you put over Andrade, again, I go back to what I said earlier. The story needs to be more than you married my daughter.
I mean, like that could be the story, right? That could be the story.
Why? Why can it be the story? Why can't it be something more than that?
Because that's the connection. That's the connection. It's like, hey, this is my son-in-law. Why wouldn't he want to be aligned with him? You call Darby your son. This is my actual son-in-law helping me.
I don't want.
Who else are you gonna put? Who? What?
I don't want to be in a tag team with my brother-in-law. I don't want to be in a tag team with my father-in-law.
Well, Ric Flair's much.
I don't want to go to work with them either.
All right, but that's you. Like Flair clearly has a good connection with his son-in-law. Like he is a good connection with his son-in-law. Why wouldn't he want a team with him? That can be the story. Like I don't mind if Andrade is who he ends up seeing. Who else are you going to pair him with? Like who makes sense to pair with Ric Flair? He's there, right? What makes sense is Ric Flair not being there. But he's there. So who are you going to pair him with? What's the what?
There are two names and you know exactly who they are.
I don't, honestly. My brain doesn't function today.
Jeff Jarrett and
Jay. Oh, wait, that doesn't get anybody over.
Jay Lethal is the other one. Didn't say I wanted
What's the story there, though, Joel? What's the story?
We fought in TNA. We have a longevity in TNA. This is what happened. We have a segment that made that put TNA.
Yeah, let's reference TNA and be like, hey, remember our history in TNA and that woo off promo? The son-in-law story is much better.
That's the entirety of the Jeff Jarrett alliance with those other three. It's basically what Jeff Jarrett's doing now. Is hey, remember us? We were all in TNA together. Whoop, let's go.
No, the son-in-law story makes sense of like, this is my son-in-law helping me because you have your son, Darby Allin. It makes sense. The pairing makes sense. Like, I don't think there's another pairing that really makes sense for Flair. You can pair him with anybody and give some erroneous backstory that makes it, kind of that ties it together. But I don't know why you're so down on the son-in-law thing. I think it makes sense.
I just expect more. That's all. I just expect more. Whatever it is, I just expect more.
What do we say on this show, Joel? Don't have expectations. Don't.
That's fair.
They just brought in Ric Flair as this big surprise. If you had any expectations at this point, that should have nixed it right there. When we're talking about this has never been done in the history of wrestling. We've never had a gift like this. This friggin' old man who could barely walk is the big gift.
Has there ever been a time in wrestling, by the way, where the gift was the old man? I'm sure it's happened. And I just want to be like Tony Schiavone, promotional malpractice. Chi-Town Spurs sent a super chat saying when Ric Flair showed up, it was probably the first time I changed the channel off of Live Dynamite, and now it's till March. For F's sake. Yeah, man, I get it. Some people are going to be super turned off. Some people are going to keep watching, and that's fine. It's just a really weird, it's just a weird gift to give. And William Rapp said, it opens TK to asking him questions on Rick's allegations. And I don't think people are going to, because it hasn't happened in AEW. People might be like, why did you choose to bring in Ric Flair instead of Hulk Hogan, who you blah, 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 everything we just talked about. But then what's he going to say? He's going to be like, oh, there's a storied rivalry in history between Sting and Ric Flair. Dynamite every Wednesday at 8. Jeremy does it way better than I do. But the point is, anyone who asks is probably going to be given the promoter answer of just like, we thought about it hard and deep and da-da-da-da-da. And we brought him in because of Sting, not because of his allegations. And that'll be that.
Most likely, yeah, that's going to be the answer on things. I don't know if he's going to get asked. The next media call probably isn't until before Full Gear. He might do some local radio shows. I don't think anybody's going to ask him there. They'll just be like, hey, you got Ric Flair. This rules. That'll be the thing. So he won't have to address it. And maybe the media call he gets asked. Maybe the post press conference he gets asked. But he wasn't asked about the lethal stuff. And some of that, I know why. But he wasn't asked there. So I don't know if he's going to be asked about Flair.
Why Solo will call me out for saying hard and deep. Yes, when I said it, I definitely caught myself. Hard and deep. Will Chisholm sent a very generous super chat. Let's tackle this real quick.
Yes, Will.
Thank you very much, Will. It's not weird. It just makes Tony Khan look bad when he does this high and mighty stuff. The fans can't pick and choose what we want to be upset about because it's our childhood. I hate when WWE brings out Hogan. It's the way I'm sure the women feel. Yeah, the women part. I mean, we've talked about this ad nauseum at this point, but I mean, with Tony, it's true. You can't play high and mighty and talk about, the Vince McMahon allegations and tweets, and then a week later trot out Ric Flair, who has on, multiple platforms talked about sexual assaults. He told this was always what was interesting to me was he tells the story on his documentary. What was the one that it was the Dark Side of the Moon, Dark Side of the Ring. Dark Side of the Moon is a really good album. The Dark Side of the Ring, where they did the plane ride from hell, and Rick tells the story about the stewardesses and all that stuff. And I said, oh my God, he just told word for word the same story that he told on an episode of WWE Story Time.
Yeah.
Where they did a whole animation. And I know there was someone on Twitter who did like a side-by-side juxtaposition of the two stories being told. And we didn't do shit after the story time thing because it didn't come out to such a big audience as it did with Vice.
It was a cartoon, so people thought it was funny.
Well, that's another thing. People, it was all how it was told, and then it was framed differently, and everyone was like, "Oh shit, we should have listened." No, you should have listened the first time. But regardless, yeah, Tony brought this guy out after spending time saying otherwise.
And when the Dark Side of the Ring came out, wasn't that the big theory? Because that was when Andrade came in, and everyone was like, "Oh, Flair's gonna be with Andrade." That was not even a theory. I think that was a report at the time. Like, yeah, they're bringing in Flair, and then that came out.
And it iced it completely.
It was Dark Side of the Ring, everybody. Like, that's where I don't know if Flair told the story on Dark Side. The stewardess, I'm pretty sure, was on Dark Side, though.
He may have told the story on 30 for 30 as well. He has told
he may have
multiple times. And this isn't whenever it became big news, it was not the first time he had told it publicly.
Yeah. So he was supposed to come in then, reportedly. And then the Dark Side heat was on. That's when he got removed from the WWE intro and all this stuff. And so they yanked him from AEW at that time. Now, 2 years later, they're like, hey, it's been 2 years. Nothing really got cleared up, but it's been 2 years. Let's bring Rick back in. Let's go. Let's bring Rick in now.
Yay.
I know I'm with you. Tony can't be tweeting that stuff. And then 2 weeks later, bring in Flair and act like everything's cool. Like I think you gotta. I don't know if you gotta clarify it. It feels like you gotta do something though. But what do we just see? What?
It's just gonna bring in Hogan and just be like, "There, are you happy?" And everyone's gonna be like, "Not what we wanted, not what we thought you would do."
Yeah,
Sounded better.
yeah.
But like that's just something he could do is be like, "Well, you had a problem with Hogan. Guess what? Now we don't." And we'll be like, "That's not the answer."
It just for me, even I don't want to say like throw out all the allegation stuff with Flair and everything. As a television viewer, for me personally, I got just no interest as a television viewer. I just don't want to see 70-year-old Ric Flair out there. I don't. If I can separate performer from the person and everything, I just don't want to see these old dudes out there who don't add anything to the television product. Sting, I feel, still adds something, especially the way they use him. Flair, I don't think adds anything, and I didn't want to see him. And happy birthday, Sting. Happy retirement. Here's Ric Flair.
I'm sure to a certain degree, Sting, like you said, is happy, is excited.
He is. Look how happy that man was. Like I saw somebody in the chat say it is like the worst part about all this is like we might not like it, but Sting was like genuinely excited for this. Like, yeah, he was. And I like that's Sting clearly has this, when he was mentioning all those dudes that put him over and stuff, and he even when he said Hulk Hogan and the crowd boos and Sting's like, oh, okay, like I get it, but like Sting feels indebted to these people through his career. He really feels indebted to them, and that's Sting's history with them. So clearly he liked it, and like that's what kind of makes it feel even more awkward is that Sting feels so good about it. So now we're all like, well, Sting likes it, so maybe it's kind of okay. I don't know.
It's the ongoing art versus artist conversation, and everyone has a different breaking point, a different point at which they decide not to support the person at all, whether they want to support the artist for the art that they've created or whether they just want to ignore everything and just keep going as they still think that the person is amazing. There are different levels to it, and everybody's going to react differently. Some people are going to be like, no, dude should be off my TV completely and entirely forever and ever because of what they did. Other people are going to say, okay, bring them on, but only for the wrestling, and that's all I want to think about because wrestling is an escape, it's television. Or they're going to be like, I don't give a shit, didn't happen to me, therefore everything's okay. That's kind of where we're at. And with Sting, I'm not saying Sting is one of those people, but Sting, like you said, Jeremy, he feels indebted to these people that he mentioned because he went up and down the roads with them. He had matches with them. His experience is innately different than the ones we have of hearing about them and watching them for the 20-25 minutes a week we would see them. We don't know what happened. We only hear the stories. We can only go by what's out there. But Sting lived around these people, worked with them, and traveled with them. It's a different experience. We can't take that away from him.
Yeah, again, he's happy. He seemed very happy. I'm sure he's fine if Rick wants to be there every week. It's like, oh, cool, traveling buddy Ric Flair. Again, this is great. I'm sure that it'll excite Sting, and that's kind of what sucks is that I want Sting to be happy. I like Sting. And it's gonna make him happy. To me, as a television viewer, ain't great television for me. They're gonna do this 6-man match, as we kind of talked about the other week when we talked about Sting's last run here, his final months. We figured, we even said this would be the match that they do because they were very clearly setting it up. Adam Edge is gonna be the third man for that team, I assume. That's what makes the most sense, and we're gonna be off with that. But it just wasn't not my AEW. No, I'm just kidding. It just I didn't like it. I don't know how else I can put it. I didn't like it. I don't want to see it. It doesn't feel like it just feels like it's too much for AEW. It feels like it's too much and it's just not good. Like the nostalgia pop stuff is getting a little overboard right now. And again, Flair felt like a jump the shark moment of hey, here's Ric Flair. Let's just bring him in for the sake of bringing him in. Again, as a one-off, okay. okay. I'm a little less harsh as a one-off. Him being there every week, no time for it.
Will Chisholm sent a super chat saying Tony's going to bring in Tessa Blanchard next. LOL. Who knows?
She'll save the women's division at least.
Yeah, everyone's going to save the women's division. And Kim Gray sends a super chat. Thank you, Kim, saying, when we met Sting, my husband asked him who his greatest opponent was. He answered Ric Flair. He loves that man regardless.
He does.
And he does. And again, there is nothing wrong with that because their relationship is completely different than the relationship that we have with Ric Flair so many years later. And like, I'm not going to throw Sting under the bus, but I am going to say back in the 90s, like Sting wasn't perfect either. I'm not saying allegations against him or anything like that, but like Sting admitted himself he was not the greatest father or husband at one point, and then he turned his life around. So my point really to all this is there are layers to how you know these people and how you understand them and the public lives that they lead. But again, like Jeremy said, from a television standpoint, Ric Flair was not high on my bingo card either for people I wanted to see make a return and show up on my wrestling programming. One night's one thing. 4 months, 5 months is kind of not of any interest to me.
We should talk about it more. We should spend the next hour and a half talking about it.
Should we? Okay, we could do that. Cody Wills wants to know, Jeremy, did you watch any hockey last night?
No, I was out trick-or-treating. No idea what you're talking about.
Never saw it. Don't know what hockey is. I watched one of my supposed senators get a 41-game suspension for sports betting.
Yeah, that's a little much.
He's in a weird position too, because apparently there's like a qualifying offer on the table. He's got to sign it. Only when he signs can he be suspended. I don't know what the deal with Shane Pinto is. I don't. But regardless, when I read it, I was like, Ottawa Senators, never heard of them. Don't know. Cody Wills also sent a super chat saying, what time will Impact Turning Point air in the UK since it's in the UK? So the show is being taped, I believe, today, as it's like at 1 p.m. It's going to be taped live, and then it will be airing on November the 3rd, which is next. November the, I think it's the 3rd. So next Friday is when Turning Point will air on the Ultimate Insiders or Impact Plus or whatever you use to watch your Impact specials. So there was no live or taped show, whatever. There was no Impact show last night because they were running Bound for Glory rematches, recap, whatever. They were showing matches from Bound for Glory. So Cresta and I didn't do a post show, and they have a lot of shows in the can, Jeremy. I don't know what their taping schedule looks like or what their airing schedule looks like through the end of the year because it's a big mess, but they know. So
apparently they got it figured out. They taped the 2 shows after Bound for Glory. And you just thought, okay, well, we're going to air these. But no, yesterday was just all Bound for Glory recap. So they have 2 shows in the can. They're adding a 3rd show because they just taped the Glasgow show yesterday was a TV taping.
I thought the Coventry show was a TV taping.
Okay, one of the shows is a TV taping.
Okay,
I don't remember which one. So that'll be 3 shows. Turning Point's its own show, so that's Impact Plus special. Final Resolution. Final Resolution is a different thing.
We got to go backwards even. Okay, so let me take you through this. And the worst part is, if you know the spoilers from Chicago, a lot of it sets up Turning Point. So they've got thumbs up. They got 2 weeks of subliminal messaging is how this show works. They have 2 weeks worth in the can for a show that airs next Friday. So they didn't show anything from this week. So they now have 1 week until the show that they're airing. That's a weird thing. The next part is, yes. So they go to Coventry, they tape another week. Now we have another week in the can. And then the next show is the IPWF stuff, which is their Interprovincial Wrestling Federation 80s throwback BS. And that's apparently going to air through the weeks on Access. But also they're going to come back in December and do tapings in Toronto for Final Resolution, including the show and TV tapings. And they're going to Mexico sometime in November to tape for Mexico tapings. So somewhere in this ether of 2 months left in the year, Impact, as it's known, will have content, but we don't know when it airs, and we don't know, like, it's all leading to Hard to Kill. By the way, shout out to Jordan Grace, who somehow got a hold of my tweet from last night about her and Trinity's build to Hard to Kill. But it's very strange. I don't know what's going on. I got to cover it, Jeremy. And the first thing I said to you was, I don't know how the next 2 weeks are going to look, next 2 months, let alone are going to look.
Oh, good luck, Joel.
Yeah, I'm so confused. It's exactly how I feel, Frantic World. I don't know.
What'd you actually like from Impact, Joel? You said you were going to say nice things about
You mean Dynamite?
AEW. Yeah,
Yes.
Dynamite. Sorry.
I enjoyed the Wardlow segment, the pre-tape.
Nah, let me tell you about this, Joel. Wardlow's being a little bitch. You want MJF that bad? He's on TV for the first 30 minutes. Show up and beat his ass. Quit talking.
What I really liked about the Wardlow segment is that he says the hooks of the devil have been put inside of me, or whatever it was. I'm starting to think that Wardlow was one of the people who attacked Jay White, and that he's still not aligned with MJF, but that he's involved somehow in the beatdown of Bang Bang Gang.
Why isn't he just the devil then?
He could be the devil, but he's too big to be the devil in that costume. It'd be very funny if he turned out to be the devil. I actually wouldn't hate it, but I enjoyed that. The Swerve home invasion obviously was high on the list. Why Swerve didn't steal the baby, I don't know. Could have put that baby on a pole.
Baby theft angle is what we're condoning now.
That's fine. But listen, all bets are off the table now that Ric Flair has made an appearance in AEW.
Why is this kid being left alone in the house? So wrestlers not lock their doors either? What are we doing?
He lives in the middle of nowhere. People do that sometimes. I do not live in the middle of nowhere. I live in a major urban city. We lock our doors. But some people...
This is the Friends influence on professional wrestling. We shouldn't be following Friends where none of these idiots lock their doors so people just burst in at any time.
I think the story became that Hangman's wife was asleep in the next room and didn't wake up through all of this. Maybe she took a sleeping pill. I don't know. I see Cinnernord saying that the internet's running wild about CM Punk being the devil. That someone literally put hashtag tinfoil when they talked about this. So I don't think they were being as serious as other people have taken it. Of course, again, going back to Dave today, conversation is dead deals according to Meltzer. So who knows? I don't know. But I like the Swerve thing. I thought it was actually quite good. I like that they did it a single camera style. They didn't do multiple camera
phone, you know.
And that's the thing. That was good, because go back to the Triple H Randy Orton home invasion, the infamous, video where you had the shot from inside the house of Triple H breaking into the house. It's like, where did that camera come from?
They were shooting a documentary on Randy Orton, and so Triple H just happened to break in at that time.
Yeah, but now you got to do now you're doing the homework for us. But either way, I enjoyed that it was a single camera shot.
You're doing homework on this angle. Why is Prince Nana being like, we gotta go?
Because Nana's complicit in this, but he's also like, I don't want to be here, but because my allegiance is to this guy, I gotta be there.
Then don't record it.
Nah, you can't stop that. Either way.
Don't record it and send it to AEW production. Then.
I love for saying Will Washington's accessory to B&E. It's just a little casual B&E. It's fine. I like the way it goes. I like the way it looks. I like the way that this segment ran. I didn't love that he threw a t-shirt, which is a choking hazard, into the crib for that little child.
That baby sleeps well. Didn't cry or anything once.
I can speak from experience. My kid, when he sleeps well, he sleeps he sleeps like a log. I can go into his room and do just about anything that I need to do in the room to, like, turn on white noise or turn on something that I forgot or move something around, and he sleeps through it. That kid did the same thing. So kudos to Hangman and his baby. It worked.
I did like this segment. I don't want people to think I'm harsh.
How dare you?
I do wish, I tweeted this. I do wish they did like an aftermath of a home invasion angle. Because we always see the breaking and entering, and then, let's follow this guy around as he goes through and drop a picture. Oh, let me put my feet up on your couch and stuff. Like, we always see the aftermath, or we always see the live shots of the home invasion type thing. I want the aftermath shot. I want like Hangman Page coming home. It's like, back from another week of AEW Dynamite where me and my friends beat up the Hardys. He comes home and like all his shit's destroyed. There's plates all over the floor. His couch has got a bunch of foot mud on it. And, his child's pictures are all ripped up. And he walks into his son's room and he sees the Hangman shirt in the crib. Or not the Hangman, the Swerve shirts in the crib and everything. I want the aftermath of a break-in segment. Let's see how these guys like react to this. I want just someone do it. Someone do something different like that.
They might. I mean, they might on Rampage era a sit down with Hangman, or next week on Dynamite be like, we're doing a sit down in his home, or we pre-taped something when he got home, and maybe there's a.
But that's a sit. I don't want to sit down. I'm saying I want the aftermath like of the angle. I don't want to see the home invasion. I don't want to see the actual home invasion. So take out like Swerve even going in there. I don't want to see that. I want to see like just like, hey, we're following Hangman as he gets home from Dynamite, and it doesn't have, they've already shot the Swerve thing, so I'm not saying it has to be Hangman. I'm saying this as a generality. Like the person gets home and he just sees all his shit destroyed, and you're like, oh, who did? And then of course you know who did it because of who they're feuding with at the time. But we always see the what actually happens, the live shot of the home. I want to shoot an aftermath segment. I've never seen that in wrestling. That's all. I'm asking for something a little bit different. Let me see somebody react to the stuff that has already happened to their house. Because otherwise, the reaction shot is Hangman is in Philadelphia and it's like, someone's in my home in Virginia or North Carolina, and he's just running up the ramp. Like, okay, I want to see someone react to the aftermath of it. That's all.
So two things. I like what you're saying. The one thing about doing the home invasion, or at least the way that they shot this one, is that it was very tense, and I like the drama that it built to. I like that it wasn't over the top hokey. So for me, that worked. But what you're saying, if they were in the same town as the wrestler that week and they do a home invasion angle, then you can easily do a follow-up where the wrestlers, let's say they were in Virginia near Hangman's house. The venue is close enough that theoretically he could get back in time to at least see the aftermath. You see both. And that to me would be okay. Well, I'm saying I would like both in the case of what you're talking about, where Hangman goes in, he opens the door and he sees what, like he's able to calm everyone down and then look at the camera, because a cameraman came with them, of course. And he says, you know, this isn't over, or whatever the promo is. That to me is okay. If you just go to someone ransacked your house and you're going to go check in on it, the drama's kind of lost because it becomes a who done it, even though you know who did it. Unless it's the beginning of your storyline, which at that point, ransacking the house to start, that's a little extreme.
Yeah, the rules. That's great.
But
let them know.
Ric Flair ransacks Sting's house, and that's how it starts.
Let them know. Like, I just want something. Hey, I don't know if it's good or not. I just think it's a little bit different to see a wrestler actually react to their house, like in the moment when they're walking in to their house being destroyed. Because every other time we've seen one of these, it's a home invasion. It's a home invasion where nobody's there. And so, all right, you just kind of go through the house and you destroy stuff, or you do whatever, you just make yourself at home, or someone's there and it leads to a big house brawl type of thing. Like we've seen it. I want to see a wrestler react to the aftermath of it, because I don't think we've seen anything like that.
I'm having an ongoing conversation with the ITW general manager about Swerve ripping the artwork from the kids off the refrigerator. And I think we were both, and I think most parents were like, that was a relatable moment. We were like, oh, you monster. Because I'll be honest, we get a lot of artwork that our kid does at daycare. We don't keep all of it, but we keep the good stuff, whatever that is. You know, if you look behind me in my shot, there's something in a frame up there that he did that for my for Father's Day. I keep that one forever. But like, yeah, the important stuff's on the fridge. And when Swerve went and just ripped that up, I think everyone got heated. It was good stuff.
It was kind of a shitty drawing though. Like it was kind of terrible art. It should have been ripped up, honestly. It's not like that thing was going to the Louvre or anything.
Maybe it was.
No.
The kid had talent, and what did you do?
No.
Now the kid's never going to be an aspiring artist because of Swerve. That's their villain.
What if Swerve makes the kid work harder because of this? Because, you know, Swerve ripped up that picture and it's like, man, this guy really hated my art. I got to prove it to him. I got to show him I'm going to be a talented artist. I'm going to be somebody. What if Swerve has actually inspired this kid, Joel? Huh?
The kid is no Mel Coleman. Maybe it does inspire the kid, but maybe it also makes the kid just hate everything about, you know, art from now on.
Maybe the kid hates pro wrestling after this, and that's probably a good thing.
It's probably a very good thing. I would be okay with that. What else from
Chris says the kid is like 2. Well, get better. Yeah. Clearly not a prodigy at 2. So, no, the drawing sucked. I don't think it was even a drawing. The kid was just like, let me just throw a bunch of color. I don't even know what it was. It's terrible.
We have something that looks exactly like that. It's just the paint's on their hands and they just do this, and that's good enough. We got a big old drawing like that on our wall somewhere, that like on a piece of paper hanging on the wall. If it's on the wall, we have problems with, you know, dirt. Anyway, the Christian Cage part, of the Ric Flair reveal was obviously great because bless Christian Cage. He can do no wrong when he's in front of a crowd. And that was the best babyface turn I've ever seen in my life, Jeremy. Christian Cage comes out and basically says everything that we're all thinking. And, well, I was cheering. How about you?
Yeah, Christian was good.
Great. He was fantastic. I was going to re-pour my drink while you said something.
I don't know what you want me to add. Christian was very good. His line was very good. I hope he punches Ric Flair in the face, and that's the last we see of Ric Flair. There.
Would be nice. And then the main event was all over the place. So one thing I loved about the main event, you brought in Okada. It was okay.
He's a loser.
He does. He's 0-3 in AEW, as you pointed out. They announced the World's End pay-per-view, which Andrew Zarian had. Happy New Year to all of us in the wrestling news world who are going to have to cover that show. I will not be there. I'm trying to go to Hard to Kill maybe, but yeah. So they announced the show at the beginning of the main event that's happening, and it's of course lower third. But the match itself between Cassidy and Okada and Claudio and Bryan, it was good. It was good enough. It wasn't amazing. The finish was weird as hell, where you have Bryan down being checked out while everyone else comes down to the ring and kind of stands there awkwardly. And you got Okada just kind of making fun and doing the boo-boo face to Bryan while the doctors are checking in. There were little things that were happening that you had to go back and watch. And I appreciate that if you go back and watch, it's there and you're like, oh, cool. But like in the moment, you're just like, what the hell's happening? Is Bryan going to come out wearing like a face mask next week and be like the Undertaker in 93 or 94 with the broken orbital sockets? I don't know what to expect. I'm fine with it. Tony Khan had said, Bryan left under his own power after the show, yada, yada. That's cool. But yeah, there was Rocky Romero showed up and was suddenly in the ring because he's a member of Chaos and it was just random. But yeah, what do you think of the main event? There was a lot going on. The match itself was fine, in my opinion.
The match is good. I was shocked Claudio won. I kind of thought he was just there to take the pin. But he won to set up the title match next week between him and Orange Cassidy. So I do like that. Him and Orange Cassidy is going to be great. Like the moments they had in the ring together was very good. And Claudio is such a good base. And Orange Cassidy can, do a lot of cool stuff. And or like the finish with the counter with Claudio on the orange punch, like all this stuff was really good. They're gonna have a really good match last week. I didn't mind the ending of this show. I know like it felt a little awkward, everything, like the crowd was a little confused as to like what's going on and everything. Why I didn't mind it is because AEW does so many show closing brawls, like so many of them, that they lose a little bit to me. Like we just had one on Collision. Like that was the end of Collision. It's like, oh, here's House of Black and Blackpool Combat Club brawling with each other. And they had other people there, but like, it was just, hey, we're brawling with each other type of thing. It's like, they do it all the time. It feels like this was a thing of like Danielson was hurt and it could have easily been a brawl between Blackpool Combat Club and Chaos. Instead, it was like, hey, our guy's hurt. We're just going to stand around him and kind of protect him. If you want to try to go after it, you can. But Chaos was even, Okada was doing booby face. Orange Cassidy was a little banged up too. He had to get help back to the back and everything. It's like, all right, we got two guys who are a little banged up here. Let's just kind of simmer it down a little bit and we'll stand off. If you want to jump, we'll go. But nobody was going to jump. It was just, they're babyface teams in the end, right? Like these are not heel teams theoretically. So I like the ending. I understand it. The crowd was like ready to get hot and ready for the big brawl and everything, but they do it so often that I thought this was a nice little change of pace for them. So I didn't mind the ending, but I understand as a television viewer, if you're watching it and you're like, oh, the crowd doesn't know what to make of this. Yeah, Danielson I think Danielson was supposed to sell though. Like that's a thing. Like Danielson, I don't think he was actually hurt. The story to me is that every time he faces Okada, he gets fucked up. And
again, Okada was making fun of Bryan getting checked out. That to me was like, that was the point where I'm like, oh, he's fine. We're doing a thing.
I think this is gonna, because what point does Danielson have to do a rematch with Okada outside of he's Bryan Danielson wants to do a rematch with Okada? He beat him, right? He tapped him out. He didn't really have a point of this. But now a point can be like, I tapped you out, but every time, and I beat you in this tag team match, my team beat your team. Every time I'm in the ring with you, though, like I lose a piece of myself. You fractured my arm. You friggin' broke my jaw or whatever. Like I'm beating you, but you're making it really difficult for me to lift my kids, to talk to my kids. Like, I got to get that revenge. I got to get that revenge. We're going to do it in Tokyo, Wrestle Dome, Wrestle Kingdom in the Tokyo Dome. Like, I think that's kind of the story there.
They should rename the show to Wrestle Dome, by the way. I've said it myself.
Isn't that what you call like getting head while watching wrestling? Wrestle Dome?
Jesus Christ. We're almost an hour in, so it's okay. Cody Will sends a super chat saying Tony should take notice that NXT ratings were higher with 5 women's matches, only Becky from the main on there, from main roster, and had stiffer competition on Tuesday. I think NXT is putting on a really, really strong product right now, and that's good for them. They've done a lot to fix a lot of the issues that they had a couple of years ago. Them and AEW as like the tete-a-tete thing, to me, it's still weird because AEW is not NXT. It's presented very differently. So is NXT to AEW. They present wrestling the way they want to present it, just like Tony presents AEW wrestling the way that he wants to see it. It's just different. And yeah, ratings wise, yeah, one did better. But this is this is the only discourse thing I had to say about wrestling with AEW ratings. When they put on the best shows or like the most jam-packed shows, Jeremy, their ratings go down. And I can't explain it. I don't think anyone really can, but it feels like every time AEW puts on this like jam-packed, so much going on show that most people come out of being like, yeah, it's pretty good. The ratings are just not. And I don't know what that's about.
I don't care about ratings. I don't care to compare AEW and NXT. Don't care about any of this stuff.
And that's fair. And again, that's why that's the only thing I have to say about it. That's all. Let's open up the show. MJF and Juice Robinson for the Dynamite Diamond Ring. So I have a few thoughts. I want to start from the end and move backwards. The Ring of Honor tag title threat. So the Guns are challenging MJF for the Ring of Honor tag team titles at Full Gear. Why? The Acclaimed are out there. The Acclaimed are trying to make the save for MJF. Why are we going for the Ring of Honor tag titles? Why aren't Juice and the Guns challenging the Acclaimed for the AEW 6-man tag titles?
Because they're cowards, and MJF is one person defending these tag team titles.
Why would MJF say yes? Because he has a problem with the Bang Bang Gang?
And he's a fighting champion. He wants to make Adam proud.
Again, it's just sitting there. We're waiting for Adam to come back to basically, take the spoils of making MJF look like an idiot because he had a friend, right?
I don't know. I have no idea what they're going to do with Adam Cole when he comes back. Like, he's going to get a big babyface reaction. I don't know if they do turn him heel after all this. I have no idea. And I don't know when Cole's coming back. He apparently had surgery a couple weeks ago. This doesn't seem like a short-term injury thing. He might not be back until like January or December. So it feels a little pointless to try to think what's AEW going to do in 2 months from now, when at this point it feels like they're booking very much week to week to try to get these things in order, and injuries. And there's just other factors that come into play with this stuff. So I'm not even going to try to figure out what the story is with Adam Cole and where it's going to end up going, because I don't think they know until Cole gets closer to a return.
So this is really what it is. In kayfabe, why has Max gone from never wanting to wrestle to wrestling more often and doing double duty? And he does this on the show too, where he tells Tony, put me on first so I can get the hell out of there. It's that's really why I'm like, what are we doing? What's the point of this?
Well, now it's put me on first because I don't want to wait to beat up Juice Robinson. It is the shift and change came with Adam Cole. Adam Cole has made him almost just want to wrestle more. And now he's the champion. And now he wants to defend the title more with everything. Like, that's Adam Cole has shifted this. And I do think there is a story there. And I do think there is a story if Adam Cole can return to sooner rather than later. If Cole turns, that can be the story of like, look, I played you. Maybe Adam Cole is the devil. Maybe he is coming back and he is the devil and is like, I played you. I made you wrestle all these matches. I made you think you were a good guy. I got the crowd on your side and everything, wore you down. And now I'm taking that title from you. Like, there are ways there. It does get very confusing though, because MJF's involved in 3 different storylines to where some of it just, you lose the plot of it all. There's a good story there. I do think it's getting muddied because you're trying to make too many good stories, and
Yeah.
some of it ain't good.
It's going to be really funny when the devil turns out to be birthday boy Bobby Fish.
If it's Big Dick Bob Fish, it's over for the league.
That's right.
Over. Vince Carter style. Over for the
Oh,
league.
it's going to get that big dunk contest win. Anyway, let's go even further backwards. MJF gets the win and retains his Dynamite Diamond ring for, I guess, what is it, the 5th year in a row?
Yeah.
Beats Juice Robinson, beats the shit out of him. Jeremy, you asked me at the end of Wednesday what would be okay, or what's the, what if he uses the quarters and all that, and I said they're not going to use the quarters, they're probably going to use the ring, and they did exactly that. And my immediate reaction was, what did this accomplish? It didn't. This whole match was, if this was supposed to be Max being like, I beat up the anti-Semite, I beat race. No, you didn't. You didn't beat anti-Semitism. You beat up the guy who's been frustrating you for the last few weeks, and you did the quarters thing, and then you tried to pull it back. Now it's the ring. And basically there was no way to win this. Once they pulled back on the quarters and made it about the ring, there was no way to find any catharsis in this match, in this finale between Juice and MJF. MJF just beat the shit out of Juice and made Juice look bad in the latter half of the match. It just wasn't good. It didn't make sense. And they didn't have the foresight to at least rethink how the match should be played out. And he still used the stupid ring. So my general feeling was it played out exactly the way that you and I talked about on Wednesday, and how it wouldn't be catharsis and there wouldn't be a proper ending to that beat. And it was what it was. Your thoughts?
The whole problem with this was the introduction of the quarters. That's it. This was a pretty simple storytelling in wrestling, right? Of this guy, he wants the diamond ring and he wants to win the diamond ring type of thing. And he's a jerk. And MJF wants to beat him up because he's going after the diamond ring and he's jumped him and all this stuff. And in the end, MJF just beat up Juice. But they introduced the quarters and made it seem like there was this big element to it. And they did it once, and it became a not good discourse online. There was nothing solved with how people were talking about this online. Absolutely nothing. People were turned off by it more than it's like, oh, I want MJF to get revenge. It was more, this sucks, we shouldn't do this type of thing. And so instead of becoming a revenge angle for MJF, it became a why the hell did you do this angle? And then they just dropped it out of nowhere. And then you almost forgot about that part because it'd been a week and a half now. And the discourse was so just, this is bad. That it was like, oh, where do you really go from there? So they just decided to go nowhere from it. And then they still try to make it a revenge of like, this guy threatened me with the quarters, but they didn't mention the quarters. So you just forgot. And then they do all these other stories on top of it to try to make you forget about the quarter stuff more. It was just, they tried something, but they were almost afraid to go more into it because of the blowback. And I don't blame them for pulling back on it, by the way. I don't. That was probably the right call. The problem is you introduced it, and the problem is you introduced it, and then so you made people think about it, and you started this whole thing, and then you took it away, and then people were just like, oh, this is dumb. And then now the actual match itself lost a plot point there. And that was that. Like, I don't know. It just wasn't the match was fine. Like it was MJF won. I don't care about the diamond ring. Like he's won it 5 years now. What do you get from it? Like it's not like he's got his 5 rings. Like do the shot, do the Michael Jordan shot where you hold up 6 fingers. There we go. Do that next year.
Yeah.
That was that. What more do you want me to say, Joel?
No, that was it. I didn't know if you were going to finish your sentence with something else. Chattown Spurs sent us a super chat saying AEW did a great segment on MJF speaking on Jewish hate in the Collision post show, or the collision that happened after that Dynamite, which is more than any wrestling company has ever done. As a Jew, I'm pretty happy with how things turned out. Listen, I will tell you that I am happy they aired that particular segment on MJF speaking at that event. I'm glad that Max did it. I'm over the idea that Max speaks for all the Jews, and that's that. He did what his story he wanted it to look like, and he told it the way he wanted it to tell. It wasn't a story that I would have told, but obviously if he's happy with it, and maybe he is, maybe he isn't, we don't know. I think that's good enough for him. And that's all I can do. That's all I can say is he told his story his way. And Chi-Town Spurs also sent a super chat saying, I'm way more upset by WWE fans who tried to use this as a point scoring than this angle with everything else going on. Okay, that's fair. But also,
it all sucks.
It all sucks. Exactly. Look at us in the sour weeds is what we're doing today.
The introducing of the quarters element was unnecessary
Yes.
because in the end it didn't mean anything. And they told the story they were going to tell with it. That was it. And they never brought it back around. They introduced it. People were not happy with it, probably rightfully so. They pulled back on it, probably the smart call, but they created such a discourse with it, a negative discourse with it. And then they didn't follow through as it didn't feel like MJF got this big win over this anti-Semite or anything. And look, you shouldn't portray Juice as an anti-Semite anyway, but it didn't feel like MJF got this big win for like the Jewish community. It just felt like MJF beat this dude who had been a jerk to him. And then he got challenged to 3 different matches.
Well, here's the third match. Out comes Kenny Omega in 3 days, bitch. We talked about it when it's happening. Collision, Kenny versus MJF for the AEW World Championship. 2 questions. 1, where will the title be when they go for this match on Saturday? Who will walk in with it? Probably no one. Or Juice will come out. And I think personally, this is going to end up in a non-finish, and we'll get Elite Bang Bang Gang down the line, and MJF will just have to split off onto his thing with Jay White. Am I off? Like, seems to be where we're going. I don't think there's going to be a finish to this match on Saturday. And also, what did you think of the 3 days notice conversation that was going on for some? Are we hot-shotting this match?
I don't feel like it's hot-shotting, because there's at least a story there of Kenny trying to prevent MJF from becoming the longest reigning champion. So there's at least a story there. The one issue is MJF doesn't have the belt. Like, he just doesn't have the belt. Like you said, they're gonna walk in. Jay White's gonna have to be there just so the belt is present there, because Jay White has the title.
And this is why I've said it from the get-go that stealing belt storylines are lazy as hell, because all you need is Tony Khan at the top of Collision this week being like, Jay White, you cannot come into the building until you give me back that belt. Give it back. It's MJF's property. He is the world champion, not you. You cannot be in this building or part of AEW until you give me back the belt, or you're fired. Whatever. Give an ultimatum. I don't care what it is. The belt stealing is lazy, and why would any authority figure in AEW be okay with it?
Is there an authority figure in AEW?
Yeah, it's Tony Khan. He got him a damn gift for Sting. He got him
a friend. That's not an authority figure. That's a friend.
Oh my God. If your boss is your friend, we have other questions to make. Okay. But that's the problem. Tony is known as the boss. He is known as the guy. He is the guy. You could have Jerry Lynn come out because he's known as a coach, as a producer in AEW. He is a guy with some authority. Someone. I'm not saying you need a weekly authority figure in AEW. I'm really not, because that can get real old real fast. But you need somebody who can just go up to the guy and be like, hey, you can't do that. You can't do it this way. Give me back the title or else you're fired. That's coming from Tony Khan.
I'd like MJF. I like MJF just like, give me back my belt. And Jay White being, no. It's like, anyway, we're going to challenge you for this title now. I look at the stupid discourse of which I didn't fully see, but they're hot-shotting the match. Like, they're doing the match. We know why they're doing the match. And I think the fact that MJF doesn't have the belt right now hurts it more than we're doing it on 3 days notice. He's going to walk out there with no title, with the title on the line, defending the title against Kenny Omega, trying to break the record for longest reign and everything. It feels like you got to have the title a little present for this whole thing. So maybe, I don't know, maybe Collision starts with Tony Khan being like, give me. Maybe they do on Collision. Maybe MJF steals the belt back on Collision. Maybe the Devil steals it back for MJF on Collision, and then they get the belt back to MJF so they can at least make it a centerpiece of this match that signifies MJF breaking the record for the longest reign. As far as the finish goes, I don't think it's going to be a non-finish. I think MJF's going to win thanks to the help from the devil. I kind of think the devil is gonna make his presence known here, and MJF's gonna get the victory that way.
I hope the devil in this case is Samoa Joe, but the devil costume is too small. So it's Joe, but it's like everything is just sticking out and awkward. Because Joe said he's going to help MJF as long as MJF gives him the next title shot, right?
Yeah, that's what he said. I like how this was the weird thing. This is my biggest complaint about AEW. Is Samoa Joe comes back there, and MJF knows Samoa Joe is targeting him. One, there's been vignettes. Two, MJF has referenced it, and Samoa Joe comes back there and it's just like, looks like you need some help. You want some help? And he puts his hand out, and MJF's like, sure, I'll accept your help, buddy. And it's like, you know this man is coming after you. Did you not think there were circumstances to this? I thought MJF looked stupid on this. All the stuff going on here, MJF, the most trickster man in the world, didn't stop and think like, what's the catch here? Why are you all of a sudden wanting to help me after saying you're coming after me and my title? What? And then Samoa Joe's like, oh, well, here's the catch. And MJF looks dumbfounded of like, oh man, he really got me there. Like that was huh? MJF is smarter than this.
Is he though? Apparently not. I do expect some angles to continue with the Collision main event, or at least what I assume.
Kenny should win. Just put the belt back on Kenny. I just put it on Kenny, and then everything just.
And then do Kenny versus Jay at Full Gear. Honestly,
Yeah.
like that would make no sense, but all the sense. It would be a New Japan main event. That's going to be your Wrestle Dome main event. But they announced that they're going to do the New Year's day before New Year's Eve show. As frustrating as it is, they're doing it on Long Island. They're doing it in MJF territory. They're doing it before the end of his supposed end of his contract. They're probably, I think, going to play that up again, bring that back around, and maybe they'll do the multi-man match, and they'll do the CM Punk Money in the Bank 2011 finish, where at home MJF beats all these people gunning after him in a multi-man match, and he just runs out through the crowd and he's like, see ya never, and takes 2 weeks off and shows up on Dynamite.
I could see that happening. I could see it. We got a ways to go to get there. He's still got to go through Jay and Wardlow, and maybe that's the main event for that show. Just MJF and Wardlow, the man who destroyed him. Now he's got to Wardlow's back to take this title now.
I think all the big guys who were after him put in put in Mimosa Joe. So Jay, Wardlow, Mimosa Joe.
No, he's beating Jay at Full Gear. Jay's
you're right. Yeah, you're right. Take out Jay, but like whoever's left of everyone who's challenging him, take him on at World.
Well, just be Joe and Wardlow. That's it. Until somebody else steps up, and more people should step up. I don't mind that MJF is in this kind of multiple thread stuff because everybody should be gunning after the world title. That's a good story where you got multiple people wanting this title. They should. People should want the world title. It's what's the old saying? If you're not in this business for the world title, get the hell out type of thing. Like, all right, these people are in this business for the world title. The problem is if you try to do it too much, you got to make sure it flows and makes sense. And some of the stuff with MJF is getting lost because it ain't flowing and it ain't making sense.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, there's a lot of stories trying to be told with one person or multiple people just branching out, and they're losing the plot. So I'm interested as to what the World's End stuff is going to look like, which is weird, but we'll see. They brought back Abaddon for Rampage, the annual Abaddon Halloween extravaganza. I know that they were not on last year's show, but for the bit, we're just going to say Abaddon shows up every Halloween.
I cackled when I saw her in that match. I was like, that's funny.
That's good stuff. Listen, they are really good at what they do. Okay. Abaddon is fantastic. Especially at this time of year. So there you go. And then Santana Ortiz being the main event. We kind of, I meant to bring it up on Wednesday. We talked about it on other shows. I do like that this is a Rampage main event. This is a Rampage story. I understand that some people would like to see it as a major plot point or a major match on Collision or Dynamite. But honestly, as an anchor story on Rampage, I don't hate it. And I think that I'm not going to spoil it for anyone, but I will say I think that this has potential to continue. and that this is a good match to have anchoring and main eventing Rampage.
Tony Storm gets a title shot.
Tony Storm does get a title shot. She just had to saunter out and say, "I beat 2 people lately, so I get a title shot."
That's all. Yeah, that's all Ruby did. Ruby beat 2 people, and she's like, "All right, give me my title shot now."
Yeah, Tony Storm beat Sky Blue at Dynamite Anniversary.
Sky Blue. That is the key to getting a title shot. Beat Sky Blue.
And Kiera Hogan on Collision. Yeah, and that was at the beginning of the month. She hadn't done shit since then.
shout out to the GOAT Luther, the Japanese deathmatch legend.
The Japanese deathmatch butler.
Yeah, shout out to Luther.
Very excited.
Really excited to see him get that role, and he always does great work. We love Luther.
He rules. I'm very happy to see that. Anyway,
Dynamite. What was that?
Dynamite was a lot. There were things I did like, and then there were things that I didn't like. And
Sounds like you hated everything, Joel.
That was you, actually.
No, I love Dynamite. It was a tremendous show. One of the best shows AEW has ever done. We had great matches. We had Kazuchika Okada. I said that terribly.
Nope.
We had Kazuchika Okada teaming with Orange Cassidy in the main event. It was a tremendous main event against Bryan Danielson against Claudio Castagnoli. We had a great women's match with AEW Women's World Champion Hikaru Shida defeating Ruby Soho. Where does Ruby Soho go from here after losing another title match? Her destination is unknown.
Boo! I made that joke on Wednesday.
No one listens to you, Joel.
That's fair. I get it. Anything else to add?
We had a great appearance by Ric Flair. It was great to see Ric Flair back on TBS and in the ring with Sting and Tony Schiavone. I grew up watching Sting, Tony Schiavone, and Ric Flair on TBS. And now 30, 40 years later, I'm happy to bring Ric Flair back to the Superstation on TBS. It was a great night for wrestling fans. MJF, he's a man who many people want to go after right now. He's going to be facing Kenny Omega live on AEW Collision this Saturday night, 8 p.m. Eastern on TNT. Can MJF break the record for the longest reigning MJF championship, for the longest reigning AEW World Championship reign? Kenny Omega is going to try to prevent that. MJF for the 5th straight year won the Dynamite Diamond Ring, defeating Juice Robinson in the Dynamite Diamond Ring finals. MJF is now a 5-time Dynamite Diamond Ring champion, 5-time Dynamite Diamond Ring winner, MJF. He's also going to be defending the ROH tag team titles against the Gunn, Austin and Colton Gunn at AEW Full Gear. It's going to be double duty for MJF at AEW Full Gear as he faces the Gunns for the ROH tag team titles and Jay White for the AEW World Championship. If he can get past Kenny Omega first, he's got to get past Kenny Omega. He'll face Kenny Omega live on AEW Collision, 8 p.m. Eastern, TNT, Saturday night. If he can beat Kenny Omega, he will face Jay White at AEW Full Gear. And he will face the Gunns at AEW Full Gear for the ROH tag team titles. There's also the Acclaimed. They were there. Who will be MJF's partners on AEW Dynamite when they face the Bullet Club?
Hold on, freeze.
Bullet Club Gold.
Freeze. I don't care about MJF's partners. I want to know who Jericho is going to partner with. You think it's Jericho? Because I have another theory.
Oh, who's that?
I think Mark Henry's got one left in him. I think he's going to bring out Sexual Chocolate for one last match.
Oh, that's good either.
I didn't say it was. I just said what I think will happen.
So I would never tweet this because I get in trouble. But I'll say it on this. Nobody watches this show, right?
I mean, we got a few people. By the way, leave a thumbs up watching this now.
Nobody watches this show. Jericho said it's gonna get bigger. He needs to come back stronger. He needs to be back, right? Wrestling needs to be back. The juice needs to be back in wrestling. Get these guys all back on the juice, baby.
Oh, well.
Now, the juice was in Impact.
I was going to say, we're going to do like Hubiko? Is this what we're going for?
That's how wrestling gets back, baby. That's how we get wrestling back. It's a body business, son.
Listen. It is a body business. I ain't gonna read the chat, but y'all are onto something. The point is,
or what if it's Goldberg? That'd be great, actually.
That'd be great. Yeah,
Goldberg and Jericho I'm for Goldberg. Paul White, I like Paul. He seems like a nice dude. You got real no desire to see him here. Mark Henry, no real desire. Goldberg, though, let's fucking go.
Let's
Give me
go.
Big Bill Goldberg in there.
Big Dick Bill.
Dude, Goldberg spearing Hobbs as well. So hilarious. People
What if
get so mad at that.
Hobbs no sells the spear?
Nah, Goldberg ain't taking that shit. He will complain so fast. So fast.
Hey, you think? By the way, you think Ric Flair is going to try and do a Horseman reunion on AEW just so we can say he did it everywhere?
Probably.
Him, Arn. He'll bring out Dean Malenko.
Great.
I'm trying to think of a Sting.
Dean rules. Yeah, they'll probably do it.
And it'll be awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's Dynamite. I have nothing else to add. Tony, are you done?
It's a tremendous show on AEW Dynamite. Watch AEW Collision Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Watch AEW Rampage tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern. You should watch Santana Ortiz. I've not checked the spoilers, by the way, but I hope that match is really good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching that match. I'm actually gonna make it a point to watch it, if not live not live to air, but when it airs, I will probably watch it Saturday morning. Just get my wrestling morning fix. Let's pivot WWE for a few minutes. Contracts.
What contracts? Let's talk about the big news.
Yes, that was
John
expected.
Cena. John Cena
going back to Saudi Arabia.
Coming to Saudi to take on Solo Sikoa. Let's go. John Cena looking for his first win in over 1,000 days. The GOAT.
John Cena. 2002 days?
First singles win, whatever it is.
2002. It's now been 2000.
Has it been 2000?
Yeah, I think he said 2002.
Jeez.
Then this was on SmackDown last week. So what are we, 7 days later? 2000 and
it's only been 3 matches. He lost to Roman, he lost to Theory, and he lost to Bray. The Bray loss was when it like started.
The Fiend really does change people.
Yeah, John Cena
loser. Giant loser. I'm going back.
Who would win between Cena and Okada? These two losers.
Okada.
It's like when UFC would it's like Chuck and it's Chuck and Vanderlei. Joel's not gonna get any of these references, but I'm popping like one person right now. Chuck and Vanderlei, like complete like goats of their time. But they both were like coming off these losses. They tried to give Chuck this like easy win against Keith Jardine, and he lost, which is very sad as a big Chuck Liddell fan. And then they were just like, because they wanted him to like look good going into the Vanderlei fight, but he lost the decision. It's like, oh shit. Then they just booked the Vanderlei fights anyway. It's like, whatever. Who cares if he lost? This is a fight everyone wants to see. So they're both coming off these losses. This is what Cena and Okada would be. It's a bunch of two losers. Okada can't win in AEW. Cena can't win in WWE. Doesn't matter. Wins, lost, all. You just like, oh, we're getting Cena and Okada. This rules. This is great. This is awesome. And Chuck and Vanderlei is like one of my favorite fights of all time. That's what Cena and Okada would be. That'd be one of the greatest matches of all time. Dave would probably give it like 3 stars because Cena's still calling spots too loud and everything. Like, who cares, dude? You're getting Cena and friggin' Kazuchika Okada. Star ratings. Gives a shit.
Yeah, no, star ratings are dumb. Speedball and Ospreay got good star rating though, so that helps.
Rampage Jackson has a podcast now.
God bless.
I was listening to some of it.
Is it good?
He interviewed Cain Velasquez. Like he's fine. Rampage is he's got some personality type of thing. Chuck Liddell was on there. I need to like actually listen to that because they fought 2 times and Rampage beat him twice. So I'm always interested in that dynamic. Like when you got like you're talking to somebody who's like whooped your ass in a real fight. Like how does that go? Because Cain was. What?
There seems to be like a good amount of respect amongst most players. You know, it's just like
for the most part
the game. Like we know what the game is.
Well, you know, Cain was asked about working with Brock in WWE. And he's like, was that awkward? And Cain beat Brock in the UFC. So Cain's just like, I mean, I guess a little. Like Cain's the dude who whooped his ass. Like Cain's probably fine with it. Like, how does Brock feel? I don't know. But Cain's just like, yeah, I guess a little bit. He's like, you know, he's got this giant scar on his head. That's for me. And so it's like, is he asked about that? Like, hey, how'd you get this scar? It's like, oh, scar. Like, oh yeah, this dude like whooped my ass in this fight. And then I had to work with him in WWE. Got my win back though. Like I beat him in the wrestling match. That's what matters. So
That's
yeah,
a good one
like
'cause he was booked to win. Someone actually wanted him to win.
uh, I'm always just curious, like years later, there's a healthy respect, like for the most part, between these guys, like uh after the fights and stuff. Sometimes it's a little bad blood. Like years later, like like, man, this guy like beat me up. Now I'm just doing this podcast. I gotta reflect on this stuff and like reflect of how he knocked me out and twice and just destroyed me twice. Like, how's this gonna go? So I need to listen to that podcast. I gotta
So
find free time to listen to a podcast that I don't have to like transcribe though.
you just gotta go for a run and listen to it and enjoy.
I can't do podcasts while running.
No?
Can't.
More
Nah.
music?
Yeah, I gotta go music. Yeah.
I get it. Yeah, the whole idea, it's just like team sports, right? Where your team beats another team. Maybe there was bad blood in the playoffs, but afterwards you understand y'all were going after the same prize, and there is that mutual respect there. It's different. It's and like you said, there's still bad blood that may carry over. Talked to Darren McCarty once upon a time, and he was like, "I'm best buddies with these people that I used to, beat the shit out of on the ice." So that's just the way it is, because you do have that shared experience. You've been on the ice together, you've worked together on the field together, whatever it is. There's just that understanding that so few understand what it is to do this at this level, that you all kind of just not commiserate, but you share the experience together. So the mutual respect does typically play in there.
Hustle, loyalty, and mutual respect.
As first announced by People Magazine, because that's where you want to break your wrestling news.
Fucking People's got the scoop. These dorks all on. How did people know about this match? What is Sean Ross Sapp and Dave Meltzer doing? How'd they not get this story?
John Cena takes on Solo Sikoa in Riyadh. The last time John Cena won a match was in Saudi Arabia. So we're bringing it back, baby. Long-term storytelling. John Cena gets his first singles win. That's what it's going to be on Saturday, November 4th against Solo. Poor Solo.
Big match, John. I don't know. He might lose this match, honestly. Like, they can't just keep beating Solo. He lost. They shouldn't keep beating Solo here. He should probably beat John, for being honest. Fair. I ain't got high hopes for this match. I love John Cena. His performances are what they are at this point. I'm not the biggest on Solo in ring. I think John will show up a little bit more for this one than he did against Theory. John against Theory was just like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know about this one. Roman's going to be backstage wrapping his hands like, put my cousin over or else we're going to have real problems on our hands. And then John's like, all right, I got you, big dog. I acknowledge you. Could you imagine John Cena comes out with a whole bunch of Saudi Make-A-Wish kids? Oh, boy. We just replay WrestleMania. Oh, those poor kids. Oh, boy. That would be something. Yes, that would be something. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, so the news about the contracts, I just want to touch on it real quick because it's been talked about. There are certain... It's in the thumbnail. It's in the thumbnail, but there are certain WWE stars that are getting to the end of their contracts with WWE, and they have not necessarily had much, if any, conversation about their re-signing. So it starts off. I just want to check this message, make sure no one's getting angry at me. Okay, no one's getting angry at me. We're good. Drew McIntyre is one of them. Becky Lynch is another one. And KO. Those were the big three that I saw. KO, I think, is a little bit later than the other two in terms of when contract might be done. But I mean, Drew is imminent. Becky is coming up as well. Those are big people that you're probably wanting to retain. But we discovered this week that Endeavor is looking at strategic alternatives for their business. Whether or not TKO is a part of that, they seem to indicate no. What does that mean? Jared? They don't seem to indicate it. They explicitly said it. It's out. Yeah, they're off the table. We're not going to sell TKO. What were your initial thoughts when you saw the news with the strategic alternatives report from Endeavor? I didn't care because they said that they have no interest in doing anything with TKO. So I was like, all right now this doesn't seem to affect anything. That could change. That could always change. The fact that they're doing this suggests that they are looking for alternatives. They're trying to do something different because the stock is down and they thought the stock was going to be higher. All this stuff is above my head, Joel. And I truthfully don't care about this business stuff because I don't feel I have great insight to it until something official comes out. So, and the fact that TKO is not mentioned, or the fact that they were mentioned in that, like, hey, we're not going to do anything with it. Okay, then To me, it's for at least right now, as far as the stuff that I care about. Hey, look, if you care about this stuff, cool, more power to you. You want to discuss this stuff, more power to you. I don't care. I don't think I have great insight to it.
You got 3 major stars that are currently sitting with contracts coming up soon. It's very unusual for any wrestling organization to just fly by the seat of their pants in hopes that they get those contracts locked up in the last 6 months of them being around. Do you think they lock them back up, or do you think there's a chance that they test the waters with free agency, or do you think that someone is going to go elsewhere? Once upon a time, Kevin Owens, everyone was so certain 100% that he was going to AEW, and then of course that wasn't the case. What do you think? We got those 3 names specifically: Becky, Drew, and Kevin Owens this time.
Kevin Owens has more time, doesn't he?
Kevin Owens, according to the Fightful Resources tab, it's through 2024.
Yeah, he's not up until the end of next year.
Is it for sure the end?
It was a 3-year deal, I think, at the end of 2021, which would make it to be the end of 2024, which would be the end of next year. Yeah, Kevin Owens isn't until the end of 2024. There's at least another year left on KO.
Will they get to him before then?
I mean, I would hope so. They're probably not in like a quick, because he said in July that he's around for the next year and a half. So yeah, that's the end of 2024. I don't think they're like super concerned about Kevin Owens' deal right now, a year out. Drew and Becky might be a little bit more of a concern. Drew seems to be the biggest one that's going to kind of come up. I think Drew ends up staying. I don't know where Kevin is next year. I think Drew and Becky stay. For Drew, here's the thing with him. Like the other option is obviously AEW. That's the only other option for a lot of these people. Drew feels like a guy who is very in the system. And I know Edge kind of felt the same way than Edge left, but I think Edge wanted to work a lot more. I also think Edge wanted to be with his friend. I think Drew is happy where he's at. He's working plenty. He loves doing all the media stuff.
I want to point out too, Edge was with WWE for 25 years straight.
Yeah.
Drew was gone for 5 years, and he had his stint on the independents, on Impact, reinvented himself very famously, came back. There's a different level for Drew and Adam Copeland in terms of what they've experienced in WWE.
Yeah. I think Drew, I'll make it's a bold claim. I don't know.
Let's go.
I think Drew would be a bigger get for AEW than kind of anybody they've brought in more recently. And that includes Edge. I'm trying to even think of like, then who? And not because like, I think Drew is this big draw, big star type of thing. He is, but Drew would be so willing to do all that media stuff that AEW, not everyone is doing. Drew would want to go on these local shows and promote. AEW didn't have a ton of guys that would do that. Like there's a reason Paul White and Mark Henry are doing so much media, like local media for them. It's because they're used to that. They're part of that system. Jericho is another guy who certainly does it. MJF is like they're kind of low, which he should be. He's a champion. He's the guy that does a lot of these local spots and stuff, but typically only New York. Like these other guys, they're doing it everywhere. Any local promotion, they're going everywhere. Drew would be that guy, and I think he would help a lot in that area. On top of just being, he looks like a star. He acts like a star. He carries himself very well. I think you can do a lot of good things with Drew McIntyre on television. I'm not even like super high on Drew like a lot of people are. But I also recognize the value that he has there. I think he'd be a huge get for AEW beyond just what you'd see on like the television side of things. I just don't know if that's. I think AEW being cold-ish. I'm not saying they're super cold or anything, but there's evidence that things are a little bit down business-wise for them. I think that makes Drew kind of reconsider things. But if they're willing to throw the money at him, then they're willing to throw the money at him. And so that's obviously going to change things too.
Drew once upon a time got my full-time respect because he did a Zoom call interview, and his name on the interview was Big Mac. And from that moment on, I was like, I get it, and I never want to see it not on my screen again. But you're right, Drew is the guy who carries your company flag. He is the guy who has proven himself to have all the potential in the world and is willing to go to bat for you and whatever you got. However, you got to pay him. And that's the big question, is whether or not the purse strings are open. He's 38 right now. Age-wise, we know that doesn't always matter, but to some it does. This could be his last big money contract before he maybe decides to wind down, or maybe he doesn't. We don't know what his expectations are or what his plans are. However, if this is a big one, you can sign him for 5, 6, 10 years and get a lot out of him. Make him your guy for the next little while. AJ Styles, by the way, is another guy that has a contract that's going to be coming up sooner than later. And that's another one. He's, of the people that we're even talking about, he's the only one that I'm like, maybe he'll go. Where he'll go, I don't know. But Drew McIntyre feels like someone who should stick around, or who would stick around. Don't know for sure, but it would work because he's been out there. He's done the outside of WWE stuff, but he came.
That wasn't his choice, though.
No, it wasn't. You're right. And there were certain things that led him to leave and be gone. But he came back, and I think he saw the benefit of, when he came back, what he could be. Whether or not he's happy with his creative, that's a whole other can of worms that we are not privy to. It's just going to come down to what he deserves and what he thinks he deserves, and what anyone else thinks he deserves for a contract. Personally, I'd like to see him stick around WWE. There are tons of fresh matchups in AEW, of course. There's always just different people in the company, but I don't know if that's going to be enough for me personally to be invested in him going there. And he would also stick out like a sore thumb in that company.
He's gigantic.
He is a large man. Like, that's the thing. And I said this about Impact too. Like, Matt Cardona shows up and you see the difference from everybody else. Brian Myers is another guy that you're just like, he is deceptively tall and he's deceptively larger than everyone else. That's kind of, it's not something to think about, but it is something that I think about, is how someone's presented on screen in one company, the land of the giants, WWE, versus AEW, where they don't have as many large people on their television program. So I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at with Drew.
You realize how big Drew is when you see him next to Roman Reigns. I remember when the build up to that Survivor Series match, and you think Roman is a big guy, and he is, and Drew like towers and dwarfs him. Like, oh shit, like this is a big dude right here. Here's the real thing, Joel. Here's a real question for you. You're talking WWE contracts, and obviously, yes, that is something. Becky, it feels like, also sticks around. I know she's in the thumbnail. I want to be remiss to not to mention her. We want to mention her. It feels like just a lot of these people stick around, but I'm always leaning towards like, yeah, these people are going to stick more than they leave. That's typically my mindset when it comes to this stuff. Even if you can, like Kevin Owens, everyone was like very sure, oh, he's leaving, and then he ended up sticking around. I'm always just feeling like, yeah, they're probably mostly going to stick around, especially if they're silent. Edge was talking a little bit too much for me to be like, oh yeah, he's probably going to AEW. Like, if they're silent about things, it always feels like they're gonna stick around when it comes to this stuff. Here's a big one though. We talk about money and, hey, are they gonna pay him this much? Are they gonna pay him that much? You gotta remember, the free agent everybody's talking right now is Will Ospreay. That's a guy who's gonna get paid. Are you gonna pay Ospreay and Drew? And I'm talking if you're AEW here. If you're WWE, you're shelling to whoever you need to shell to. The money's kind of endless here. If you're AEW though, are you paying both of these guys? Like, I don't know. And I think they're more inclined to pay Ospreay, who's much younger, who fits their style more, who is already known to their fan base on this kind of stuff. Like, feels like they're paying more Ospreay than they're paying Drew. As far as, I don't know, like, obviously money wise, I don't know who's making more, but if you're leaning one way or the other, feels like they're targeting Ospreay more than Drew.
And this is what's interesting, is that we're seeing when it feels like the target is Ospreay for AEW, and maybe that's, that both sides want that. Drew is different in a different character, a different presentation, a different person for AEW to bring in, he would be considered different and he would be treated differently. Do you go with the guy that you're kind of targeting and expecting to bring the same quality of wrestling that you expect for your product and has the New Japan influence, or do you bring in Drew, who is different than your typical AEW presentation? Like what's more appealing to you? Do you break things up, or do you go with what you've done before?
I think you go with what you've done before, because
That's fair.
that's typically, and Osprey's younger. Let's not lose sight of that either. Like, Osprey's much younger, and it's also going to come down to what these people want, as it always does. You know, it's very easy to be like, yeah, WWE is going to shell out for this person. AEW is going to shell out for this person. If that person doesn't want to go there, it doesn't really fucking matter. Honestly, like, if Will Ospreay says, hey, look, I appreciate your offer, WWE or AEW. You know, that's very generous of you. But you know what? I want to test myself in WWE. I want to test myself in AEW. I want to have this match. I want to be able to do this. That's honestly what it comes down to. Same thing with Drew. It's like, okay, AEW gives me this fresh match, this things people see, but they're not going to allow me to do this. And I know AEW allows people to do a lot of things. I'm talking about like grand scope of things. They're not going to, they don't have the platform that allows me. That's what I should say. They don't have the platform that's going to allow me to do this. They don't work with this company that I want to work for. And I'm not talking wrestling company. I'm talking like charity type of thing. Like, they don't work with this company that will allow me to do this type of thing. So that could be a big sticking point for these people. Yeah, it's all this is the same conversation with Jade. It's like, oh, why wouldn't Jade stick in AEW? They've treated her well. They've done well for her. Her first match was a tag team with Shaq. They give her this long title run. Like, she still has all these matches to do in AEW. It's like, well, she maybe want to just do other shit. Like, you know, Tony Khan said they made her a fair offer, and I believe him. I believe that he gave her good money and was willing to negotiate and willing to match kind of what WWE gave her money wise. And it didn't matter because Jade probably just had other aspirations, and that's just going to be the reality of situations.
Yeah, I have nothing else to add. I think you're in a good. You said it well. Becky sticks around WWE, stays with the husband, stays with the kid.
Yeah, I think so, because, and this is where AEW, when you want to talk about dropping the ball in the women type of thing, this is where I think that it could really hurt the negotiation leverage. Is if you're Becky and you're looking at what is presented to you on television. Tony Khan can say, and people can say, like, we're going to make you the focal point. We're going to make you the face. You're going to be the one that changes the division around. If you're Becky, why are you so inclined to believe that? Like, why are you so inclined to be like, all right, yeah, this is what it is? Where in WWE, especially this last run, you're on television on multiple shows. You got to work with the people you wanted to work with. I know they switched plans with Natalya, but that may or may not have been a Vince thing. In the end, she still got to work with Tegan. She worked with Indy. She dropped the title to Lyra. Like, she got to work with these people in WWE. There's obviously the platform. There's also the fact that her husband's there, their child together. You got to work out travel arrangements. You got to, schedule how often are you going to see this person type of thing. There's more that goes into it than just like Becky Lynch, cool television character. Like, there's a lot more that goes into it than that. And I think behind the scenes stuff, there's a lot more for Becky, especially because there's a lot of personal ties there that it's going to be kind of tough to break away from and then be happy with when you have a husband and a kid as part of the mix there.
Finally, KO, and I know it's end of 2024. My general feeling with KO again is he sticks around. Things can change between now and then.
Yeah, there's so much time left to even worry about KO.
Yeah, I will say this: when KO was on the re-signing block a couple of years ago in 2021, I was at the forefront saying, no, he's staying. And people got on my ass about it. They're like, no, he's friends with the Young Bucks. And he's friends with this guy and this guy. And I was like, that doesn't matter. KO learned everything he knows about wrestling growing up from Jim Ross, from WWF programming. He's formed his life in Florida. Like, he's been a WWF guy for forever. His friends are happy and he's happy for his friends, but it never felt to me like he was ready to jump ship and go try something new. It felt like he had more that he wanted to accomplish in WWE at the time. But like Jeremy, like you were saying, and like I'm saying, a year from now is still a lot of time. and things could change, better or worse. But yeah, my feeling is he's still a big WWE guy, has been for a little while for KO.
Let's talk about the real news here. Kind of weird. If Punk comes in, does that affect KO's decision? Well, Punk needs to get tickets to Survivor Series if he's
Yes,
going
yes.
to be able to come in. So talk about. I know we have a hard out at 12. So I saw Punk was just going to be on this local Chicago station yesterday, and I was like, I'll tune in. I feel like he's just going to talk like Blackhawk stuff. Like that's it. And for the first part of it, that's all it was. Like, hey, let's talk about hockey. And then the person asked, like, everybody's asking about you going to Survivor Series and Punk. There's this long pause that you gotta hear to like hear how actually long it is. It feels like an eternity, this pause. And then he finally just says, that's what they're asking, huh? Like, I think it's hard to get tickets. I don't know. I think it's sold out. And then he's asked about, are you going to go to WWE? And he says, like, hate to burst anybody's bubble. I'm enjoying my time. I'm enjoying the Chicago weather, which has to be a lie. Larry has a torn ACL. Shout out to Larry. Hope things get better for him. Like it's just easier if AJ and I are both home type of thing. Didn't really give an answer, but obviously it was the talk of the town yesterday. And then he talked about unions, which is a lot of the same stuff he said before. If you've listened to enough Punk over the years, he said this stuff. If if Punk does come in, how does that change things? Because that's a sticking point for some people potentially. Is like there's a lot of contracts coming up, and if you're bringing in this guy who has this history, does that make people look a certain way of like, one, how much is he making? Because if he's making this much, then you got to pay me this much. Because this dude shouldn't be making more than me. I've been here. If you're Drew McIntyre and you're like, I've been here, I've been writing for this company, I've sold out some of these shows, Clash of the Castle doesn't do the numbers that it does without me. Like, I've been doing all this media. You're bringing in this guy. I understand he's got history and stuff like that. He ain't drawing these towns, though. He's working for that company, drawing that much. I've been working here, drawing this much. He's been having these issues. I've been on my best behavior. Like, if you're Drew McIntyre and Punk comes in, yeah, I'd be seeing how much Punk makes and being like, double that. At the very least, double that and give me that. So I think that's the more than locker room and stuff, because I think Punk would be on his best behavior. For these guys with these contracts coming up, guys and girls, if they bring in Punk, I'd be looking at that and be like, yeah, you gotta now give me this because you brought this guy in. And not because he's a headache and stuff, but because this is what I've done in this company for however long. He ain't done that shit.
KO's got to get Barry Bloom, get that favored nations deal in his contract, get that favored nations clause. But you're right. There is a certain amount of like, we'll put it like this. If Punk were to come back to WWE, those conversations would be had first, because your top talent has to be okay with it and understand it. Some top talent, it would be an emotional thing. Some are going to be like, money. What's not necessarily what's his money like, but like, you got to give me hazard pay now, or you got to give me something to make it known that I don't love it, but I'm a team player. Show me how much you want me to be a team player. There's something on there. There's something to that. You don't just hire the man and bring him into the locker room and be like, try to figure it out.
See, in some instances, like you do, it's a business at that stuff. Like you want to talk about it with sports and everything.
Harden. This is the Harden situation, right?
Yeah, kind of, sort of.
But the team is just like, or the team officials are just like, don't travel with the team, you're poison. And then Harden's like, what I do? And then the team is just like, you can show up. And then the team is like, they got a point. I guess you just got to show up and score, right? Like, is that kind of what's going on there?
It is like more or less, but this is just in general, all of sports is some players do want, like look at LeBron. Some players want that control. They want to be in the loop on that stuff. They want to know, like, hey, you ain't making this trade without me signing off on it. You ain't bringing this guy into my locker room without me signing off of it. And some players are like, hey, if this helps the team win, I don't care. If this is going to make us a better team, we will figure it out. And if this guy has to go, the Giannis situation, they traded Drew Holiday, very loved, very respected in that locker room. And Giannis said, and I don't know how much truth it. One, Giannis said, "Hey, you got to give me a winning team, or else I ain't going nowhere, or else I'm leaving." And then they gave him Damian Lillard, but they had to trade Drew Holiday, who was very loved and respected in that locker room. Joel doesn't know anything. No, Joel knows the Harden situation clearly.
Joel knows baseball. Fantastic.
No, so, but that's a situation when it comes to this stuff. Of some players want to know and some players don't. Drew McIntyre might be a guy who is like, I don't care. Bring him in. We'll make money. If he gets out of line, I'll punch him in the face. Drew probably feels strongly enough about this stuff where it's like, sure, bring in whoever you want. If there's a situation that needs to be handled, we'll handle it. Somebody like Seth might be a different situation of like, let's have a conversation about this. But Seth has always said like he worked with Riddle. Seth has always said like we can keep it professional. Like I ain't got to be friends with all these guys, but if there's an opportunity to make money, we'll make some money together. Roman's only there like once a month anyway. He don't give a shit.
We're gonna talk about Roman in a minute, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Roman might just be like, whatever. Yeah, sure. We might just keep him away from me. I got my own bus, everything. But some people want to know. Some people don't care. You probably got to take a general feel of things, though, especially if it is somebody like a CM Punk, because of that history. Some people it's just like, yeah, sure, bring like Ospreay, probably a little bit different. It's like, yeah, sure, Ospreay, you ain't got to get a general feel of stuff on that one. Oh yeah,
Roman. Observer Newsletter said no Roman at Survivor Series. He's got a match against LA Knight this next Saturday in Saudi. Roman's going to be on FS1 tonight on SmackDown. What do we think about no Roman at Survivor Series? Is that detrimental? Is it just not, doesn't matter to the story? Like this, the War Games conversation has been ongoing. Like who's in War Games? Is there a War Games? And also, could there be a traditional Survivor Series match and a War Games match? What happens to the women as well for Survivor Series? I'm still wondering about that. Is there a women's title match, or do we do a Survivor Series style match? What are you thinking with Survivor Series coming up?
I still think there's a War Games match. I've been saying this for months because I thought Cody was going to push for it. As far as Roman goes, does he need to be on the show? I mean, it'd probably be a good look if he is. You probably want your long reigning, undisputed WWE Universal Champion to be there.
You already sold the tickets though. Like this is, just to compare it to AEW with like the Wembley show, you did it without announcing a match. We did it with like, it's the same thing with Survivor Series. Roman never said he's going to be on the show. I guess you can assume that he would have been, but like, here we are. Shows not just sold out, but continues to sell out because they keep removing parts of the set so that they can put more people in the building.
Yeah, I mean, they have already sold it, so maybe you don't need Roman in that aspect. Clearly people are going to be there. They're just happy to be at Survivor Series type of thing. You still got to deliver something good. And I think people will be happy with a War Games. Do you get a women's War Games match? I don't know. If Roman is on the show, like they still got it's only a month actually. I forgot November. It's very close. Yeah, it's the end of November. It's only a month. Like they're doing the LA Knight match at the beginning of November. What's the match for Roman if like on 3 weeks build? What would it be?
Rey Mysterio? No, I don't know. You're right. What is the match? Is there something that would be big enough to make a world title match for Roman? There isn't, unless again you put Roman in the War Games match again. Is it worthwhile? Like what's the point? Unless Cody's captaining a team, Roman's captaining a team, but I don't even want them to. I don't even want them to bring that around yet because we just planted that seed a few weeks ago. Let's lay out. Let's not bring it back until the new year.
So here's what it is, Joel. Here's what it is.
Okay.
Show opens. Do the cold open, whatever, video package and everything, right? Crowd's crazy, crowd's in a frenzy, and then we get look in my eyes. What do you see? But then it's Roman Reigns who comes out and he goes, Chicago, acknowledge me.
It would be Paul Heyman doing that again. Oh, he got him in the first half.
That's what it'll be. And Roman just comes out and he's like, Chicago, acknowledge me. Chicago acknowledges him, and he just leaves after that. He's like, deuce, ooses, deuces, deuces, ooses, whatever.
Somehow the roof opens up. The people at the United Center are just like, I didn't know we had a retractable roof. And then all of a sudden, this like giant helicopter just flies in and just takes Roman out. And that's it. Oh man.
Nah, I mean, like Roman probably should be on the show, but they got the show pretty much sold out and then some at this point. So we shall see. We shall see when it comes to that.
I think John Cena is going to be on the show, and that's good enough.
Really?
Yeah. I know that Cena's not he's not being promoted or he's not being advertised for shows beyond tonight, which is a double taping, by the way. So SmackDown is live and they're taping for next week because they'll be in Saudi Arabia. So Cena will be on tonight's show and presumably next week's show. I wouldn't be shocked if he's on the Survivor Series show. Don't know why, don't know how. It just it feels like if they're going to take out Roman, they want to replace with John. That's just the hunch that I have. And also, like we're seeing what's going on with the strikes. Nothing's officially done. Nothing's officially over with the actor strike. So John Cena has time.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm not sold completely on that. It is weird that like I was saying that they don't have stuff like, you know, they got to get through Saudi first before you get into Survivor Series, and Survivor Series is like 3 weeks later. And the one thing that's clearly being set up is the War Games match. After that, I don't see too much the direction of things. There's some hints, but nothing that I feel confident of like, oh yeah, this is probably happening. I think Gunther is going to get a big title match on that show. Don't know against who, but it feels like he'll get some type of title match. Maybe that's where they go with the women's match of Io against Bianca type of thing. So there's stuff there, but I guess we'll see. See after Saudi. All right, we gotta roll, don't we?
Get out of here. SmackDown tonight, not much going on. Roman Reigns and LA Knight are signing the contract for Crown Jewel, and then the LWA looked they look to take down the Street Profits, whatever that means, because they don't have anyone listed for a fight. I see Santos Escobar and Montez Ford at the forefront. So if that's a singles match, cool. That's a fun match. We'll be back on Monday talking about everything that happened this weekend. Jeremy, what do you want to plug? We get out of here.
Follow me on Twitter, engage with all my tweets so I get that sweet engagement money. I'm going to go listen to the new Taylor Swift album, which is kind of new, kind of not, but 1989 Taylor's version. Going to go listen to that.
There you go. Follow Jeremy at Jeremy Lambert 88. I am at Joel Pearl, JOELPEARL. We'll see you on Monday. Check out Rob and Maggie later on this afternoon here on Fightful Overbooked. Leave a thumbs up on the way out. And of course, subscribe to us here on the channel. Ladies and gentlemen, friends beyond the binary. We'll see you in the next one. Enjoy your weekend. Cheers.